just look at these guys on TV and you're like, man, I gotta do my extra push-ups, extra sit, I gotta run more, I gotta do my cardio, I gotta make sure I keep my body in tip-top shape. But at the same time, you gotta train your mind the same way. And we want to be here and not only just be a part of something, but to create something, to be a legacy that we can leave behind for others to follow. And even with yourself, to look in the mirror every morning and tell yourself, to keep going, to keep pushing, to not let nothing like that really discourage you, but use that as motivation. Because every story is not perfect. Every story is going to have its ups and downs. And the journey wouldn't be the journey without the hurdles. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it really. Everything is a process, everything is a stepping stone.
Welcome to CC Sports Talk. I'm your host, Ron Marquez. Today's guest played for the UNLV Running Rebels, Bishop Gorman High School, the Las Vegas Raiders, played Canadian football, and now he's won a championship with your Las Vegas Nighthawks. Adam Plant Jr., how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Pretty good. So let's get started. You're from Vegas. You play at Bishop Gorman. You started there, but how'd you actually get into football?
So originally I'm from Los Angeles, California. My father, he got a new job and we all relocated as a family out to Las Vegas in 2008. Man, when I first came out here to William V. Wright in elementary school, I started playing flag football at recess. And that's what really gave me the passion. That's when I started watching football games, NFL games, and just start seeing how guys move, watching highlight tapes, man, and trying to mimic those type of things, man. Really just gain, a natural love for it.
At what point did you actually feel like you had it? Like,
I would say when I turned 10 years old, so fifth grade, I think that year when I played with the Little League Rebels, that was like the first year where I was like, yeah, I can take this game for it.
yeah. Did you feel like you were bigger than a lot of kids at your age,
Oh,
or?
yeah, I always felt like I was always taller than most, but I felt like I always had to work even harder too because that kind of was an advantage and a disadvantage as far as like my levers and stuff like that, just playing across the ball. So it definitely gave me a chip on my shoulder, but definitely gave me something more to work on as well.
But your dad, he was a pretty good football player too,
Oh,
right?
man, he's phenomenal. He's probably the best offensive lineman I got to go against. And, it really was a cheat code because, growing up with him in the household and, we always worked out. We always made sure that we kept each other accountable. He made sure he kept me accountable. And, it made me a better player in the long run. He always had me do one-on-ones, workouts, hill runs, whatever it took for us to get to that next level, we did it all.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, obviously Bishop Gorman is one of the most prestige programs in the country. Almost every year, I mean, ever since I can remember,
Yeah,
they've been at the top 10
definitely.
national titles. At what point were you even considering going there? Did you even know you were going to go to Bishop Gorman?
So when we first moved out here, originally we were going to go to Palo Verde High School, me and my two sisters. It was one day, me and my dad, we were taking a drive around the city, and we just so happened to make a wrong turn. We came up Hualapai, and we looked up, we just seen the school just open up, like a horizon. And he was like, man, what school is this? We turned in, we seen the team practicing. And from then on, he was like, yeah, man, yeah, all my kids want to go to Bishop Gorman High School. And from then on, I just, made sure I embodied into that mindset. And I went to start going to little league camps from there where it was basketball, football, got acclimated to all the coaches and stuff like that. So I naturally just gravitated to it with the school within itself.
And do you think, because a lot of people, like especially a lot of kids now, I mean, they don't realize like Gorman used to be on Eastern or Maryland Parkway,
Parkway.
little small church,
Right.
like, but they all want to go there now. How hard is it for a kid from Vegas? Because they always outsource it. Seems like they look at Cali kids, but you're from Cali, so it makes sense a little bit. But
Yeah.
you're living out here. How easy was it to even get to Gorman?
Everything is always going to be a process. It doesn't matter if you come out of state, if you're an in-state student. The most important thing was to take the standardized test to get into the school first and foremost academically. So that's the first thing, besides all, athletics, stuff like that, it's academics first with that university, with that high school. But yeah, just making sure that you dedicate yourself, especially, going throughout the years of middle school and, elementary school. And, we always focus on the forefront of the athletic side of it. But, I think my parents did a great job with all of us, me and my siblings, including, making sure that our academics came first and foremost. And, it was times too, where it was a rigorous thing, come from a public school standpoint to go to a private school and take on those demands. But yeah, everything's always a process, but I think everything worked out for the best.
But I mean, now you're winning there.
Yeah.
You win state titles. Was UNLV always a choice to stay home, or what? Like, did you? A lot of kids want to leave.
Naturally, as a kid, growing up here in the city and stuff like that, we always look at UNLV as, a pillar of the community. And, for most kids, for most of the young adults like me, we always looked at, we want to go outside of the city. We want to, reach beyond the heights of what, the public eye can see. So for me personally, I always naturally wanted to go outside the state first. And, once I did that and I had the experience with Texas Christian University my freshman year, and, just sitting there having a conversation with my family and what we wanted to do and what I wanted to obtain personally and everything that we had going customly as a family. I did feel like UNLV was always gonna be the best fit for me in the long run.
Yeah, because even like I'll be looking at some of your stuff, and it seems like they're very proud of UNLV. Like you
Yeah,
guys hold UNLV to high standard.
absolutely.
Now that we're winning,
Yeah.
The Rebels are winning now.
It's beautiful, man. I love it. I just came from seeing the game against UCLA this past weekend, and just to see the morale, see the crowd, and see the aura, the atmosphere, and how it's grown tremendously over the last couple of years. And especially, it's heartwarming for me to be a part of those teams that were the 0-6 and 2-10, 5-7. To see the growth and steps and progression of how this program turned around a lot, and it's a big kudos to all the head coaches and all the coaches that came across the last couple of years. So, and the biggest part really is just the athletes within ourselves. The sacrifices and just the daily commitment to the game.
Yeah, 'cause I remember, like I said, I remember going to game at Sanborn Stadium. We're losing everywhere, but we showed up. Cold, everything, but
And one thing too, I would say I appreciate the dedicated fans, because they went through it a lot too. Even before we started playing, before we came here, just from you think about the '80s when it was running country, we were in the show. So it's amazing to see the city still behind us.
even with those losing seasons,
Mhm.
you have a lot of history there. You've set records. You've done your thing there.
Yes, sir.
So being that hometown kid, like you said, you're from Cali, but you're here now. You're from Vegas.
It's absolutely.
So how does that feel to actually be part of a city? And then you transition into the Las Vegas Raiders. We didn't have a team here for a while. How does that even feel to be a part of that?
It's surreal. I take it with very humbling, and it was a blessing to be able to go through that experience. But it also let me know, how much it really takes to get to that next level, and how a lot of people, you look at the antics, you look at the percentages of what they say it takes to get to the next level, to the league, and get through that window of opportunity. But to actually go through all the real years and real work, and to really sit back and digress all the countless hours of work and sacrifice, not only for me, but for my parents, my family, us in general, where it came from a school standpoint, when it came from them staying up hours at a time, doing the extra mile to make sure that they gave me the best opportunity and I gave myself the best opportunity. So, to be able to test that and to still be able to continue playing, it's a tremendous honor.
I mean, you get to the Las Vegas Raiders, and your dad, I mean, he's a very outspoken person,
Right.
a very strong
Absolutely.
person in the community too. We'll get to him in a minute, but how did his influence go with the Raiders? And then how did you, once you got to the Raiders, you kind of fell short actually making the roster?
So I think the biggest thing, with both my parents, this always stand on my ear, tell me the right things, the positive work and stuff like that, and always just let me know that don't always have all your eggs in one basket. At the end of the day, this is a goal. We're gonna shoot for the stars and land on the moon. And at the end of the day, that although I did fall short of that, my parents were still there to make sure that I was able to continue with my career, and I was able to still get another opportunity to go to Canada afterwards. So, still being in through that 8 months process and seeing how it is to be professional and to be considered a professional athlete at the highest level at that time, it was tremendous. And to see the city, continue to welcome me in with open arms, and especially at that level and that magnitude, it's nothing like it. It's a real euphoric feeling.
We say fall short because you didn't make the roster, right? Like, but honestly, you made the team. Your dad was selling jerseys. People were getting your name, not even on the team yet, but you're getting jerseys made. That's a big
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah. And, I think it's a big kudos too, not only just for, my father, but also for my mother, for my sisters. And just to see the love and support from all those that not only support me, but support them as well. It's a lot of people that necessarily didn't really tune in to me as a player until, they heard it from my father, or they heard it from my mother, my siblings and stuff like that, or unless they seen it firsthand with me playing. So, to be able to have that type of support system and have people still continue on and, push you forward even when things don't always go the way that you see it, that's the biggest thing for me. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah. So growing up though, you've had trainers like Greg Townsend, right? That actually
Absolutely.
played for the Raiders,
Yeah.
and he played
And
here
I
as well.
also had Reggie Hudson and Mike Waters that were two former UNLV alumni. Those are really my first two trainers who came here at phase one.
Yeah. So how did that help you out, like throughout the process from that age to even getting to the pros in college and all that?
I think realizing it was more of the mental aspect than the physical. A lot of times, you always look at these guys on TV and you're like, man, I got to do my extra push ups, extra set. I got to run more. I got to do my cardio. I got to make sure I keep my body in tip top shape. But at the same time, you got to train your mind the same way. And I think that's the biggest thing outside of my father, being the first formal example as a man for me, having those type of peers like Michael Waters or Reggie Hudson, to have those type of guys in my corner. Another guy like Xavier Grimble, having those peers that were older than me, to be able to see them beforehand, to see the good things they did, see some of the things that I could correct along my journey, it was amazing. So I just wanted to make sure within myself that I didn't drop the ball on the way.
Oh yeah. So coming from Gorman, like I said, obviously a lot of the talent that comes out of the city is from Gorman.
Right.
How much does that help you? How much is that a brotherhood like throughout even after you get out of school? Like, are you
It
keeping in
definitely,
contact?
yeah, it definitely pushes us. We always made sure that all of us that did grow up here in Las Vegas at a young age, we already, for the most part, we all knew each other customly, just going from Little League, from different camps and stuff like that, playing on same rosters and stuff. So, when we all got here as freshmen, we all made sure we saw how to go. Like, we want to be here and not only just be a part of something, but to create something, to be a legacy that we can leave behind for others to follow. And, to come in my freshman year, to see the first national championship, get one, sophomore year, another one, and then to be a part of the team fully junior year for that national championship, and then to carry out a senior state championship. It's beautiful. And, those guys to this day, whether they play football, whether they're local pillars of the community, whether they're police officers, they work in, teaching aid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We always make sure that we keep in contact with each other because, at the end of the day, we're all brothers, we're all a family. And, we built that impact with each other, well over 10 years ago. So to be able to have that type of friend group now, the older I'm getting to like that, it's a beautiful feeling to have.
Correct. So, you had the Raiders kinda end, then, make that you don't give up though. You
Right.
then what how do you get with the Canadian team?
So after the fact, after I got released, with my agency and stuff like that, because I'm with the sports and entertainment group, my agent Jeff, he told me, to stay tight, continue to work out, continue to stay in shape, and when opportunities do come, even if it's not the NFL, make sure that you're ready and make sure to keep an open eye for these situations. So initially, I had a gentleman by the name of Ed Hervey that was the former general manager for the Hamilton Tiger Cats out in Ontario for CFL. He reached out to me initially in October, and I finalized a deal with them in January, signed with them. So for me, the biggest thing was, although you always want to look at it and with the NFL and with any professional league, you want to have the longevity career. You want to make sure you go through, if you can go a full 10 to 15-year career with one team, you would do that. But, obviously that's not the case with the game. It comes with its up and downs. But for me personally, I just told myself, as long as I can still continue to give myself to the game 100%, as long as God keeps blessing with opportunity, I'm going to still go forefront with it.
Did you get not as motivated once you did make the roster and you had to go to Canada, or is it you were just happy to still be play football?
No, for me initially, of course, I'm human. So naturally I was upset. I was a little frustrated, down a little bit. But I had to shake out of that real quick and just realize, at the end of the day, I still woke up. I'm still here. I'm still an able-bodied human being. I still have opportunities right in front of me. So even if it didn't work out necessarily how I seen it, I still have things that were still in store for me that I didn't necessarily see.
How does the game translate from the NFL? Because you play with NFL players, obviously you play preseason, and then Canada. How's the talent level?
The talent level is up there. Guys in Canada, it's not a mess around league. And it's also one of those leagues I feel like people don't really show the true appreciation for really what it is. Because to play on a field like that, extra 10 yards of diameter wide on each side and an extra 20 yards from end zone to end zone, to have 12 on 12 and to be a yard off the ball, I mean, it's a tremendous difference. And I let you know, really, like guys that are real, Hall of Famers in the CFL, Pro Bowls in the CFL, those aren't just push around dudes, those can be, high caliber guys in the NFL as well.
And how are the fans? How are their stadiums? Is it pretty loud, or are they big
No, it's
crowds?
pretty low. I think the biggest thing too, while I look at the CFL is like a college town experience. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because a lot of times, with the different territories and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's all they have right there in that area. So you're gonna see the full community come in and embrace you fully. So it's dope.
Oh, so it's pretty comfortable feeling. It's more of a actual atmosphere.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it too because I think especially me being in Ontario, I seen more of a nature side and stuff like that. So to have a different scenery, a different place to look at, stuff like that was also amazing. To have that.
And it's not too far from as far as, like, culture and everything,
Yeah.
the US is, like, pretty much similar, right?
I think the Niagara Falls border was probably like an hour away from where I was.
Oh, dang. How long were you there for? A couple months?
Yeah, roughly about 3 months.
So what made you leave? Like, the season just ended, or you
No, I ended up getting released right before the regular season started,
okay.
just because of logistic purpose and stuff like that. What the difference is with Canada as far as the NFL, NFL has a 53-man roster,
Yeah.
Canada's a 46-man roster. Sure. So there's also a certain number of US players you can have on the team, not just for your position, but entirely. So it could be a thing where, you could be doing your thing, you could be balling out, but for numbers purposes, they have to keep certain guys for special teams, certain guys for depths of quarterbacks, running
Gotcha.
backs, or, wherever the demand is needed for the position. So a lot of times, you have guys not only just for me, but guys that I've known personally or seen throughout the rigors of the situations that, can be a hell of a player and a guy that you be like, man, how is he not playing? How is he not, on the field? But it's just kind of the way how the game works. But I think times like that is to really test you at the same time too, because some people can get discouraged and say, you know what, Imma hang it up, I did what I had to do, they don't give me a fair opportunity, Imma hang it up, and for me, I take everything as a learning experience. Initially, you're gonna have your first base emotions of how things happen, you're gonna process how things went through, you're gonna ask yourself questions of, "Did I really give my all? Did I do all the right things? Did I do all the right tangibles to put myself in the right position?" And after you can answer those questions honestly and truthfully, then you look back and go back to the drawing board and say, "Okay, this is what I did right, this is what I did wrong, this is what I can improve on, and moving forward, these are the things I'm gonna do to make sure that this never happens again."
Correct.
Mm.
But do you keep on feeling like once you get to that, you feel like you're there and you can make a difference, then it just cuts short? Or what do you think the issue is every time?
I think for each initial thing, I feel like everything was different. I don't necessarily want to say that it was something that I'm going to point the finger and say you do like they did me wrong, or I shot myself in the foot and I didn't put myself in the right place or position. Everything is all about divine timing. So if it necessarily didn't work out for me at that forefront of the time and stuff like that, if I was able to rekindle an opportunity, cool. If it wasn't, then it wasn't my time to be there.
Yeah, even with the Raiders, like, I felt like now you were gonna make that team. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like the talk around the city was even the coach was talking highly of you. There were no doubt in my mind you were making that team. And
I mean, I came in the building every day with that mindset. I think every player does, when you go through an experience like that with any NFL team. And, when that didn't happen and, I had to come back home and, regroup myself like that, it's a tough pill to swallow. And to be able to look in the face of your loved ones that everybody was looking forward to everything. And even with yourself, to look in the mirror every morning and tell yourself, to keep going, to keep pushing, to not let nothing like that really discourage you, but use that as motivation. Because, every story is not perfect. Every story is going to have its ups and downs. And, the journey wouldn't be the journey without the hurdles. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it really. Everything is a process, everything is a stepping stone.
but yeah, speaking of that though, you like I said, you keep on coming short, but
Right.
then you get to the hometown team, the Las Vegas Nighthawks.
Right.
This is what your second season
First season.
or first season, but and then who'd you play for before the Bombers?
The Massachusetts Pirates out now.
Okay, well, what happened with that team? Because you were it seemed like you were just a couple games in there, and
Yeah, I was there for about 6 weeks. And at that time I just had my son. So, things were in a rocky situation. I needed to make sure I come home and take care of things. So that was the biggest thing for me. And just to make sure, I set myself up for the future. So, this with that initial part, the sacrifice in that time to be able to come back and regroup and to have a coach like Mike Davis to reach out to me afterwards, that's how it showed me a lot too, not just only for myself, but to know that when you do the good things like you're saying, and this might be tangibles where you're like, how's a guy like that not in a situation? Let me check the history. Let me check his background. Is he a good dude off the field? Does he come from a good family? And, once you check the crosses on those lists and everything like that, you have coaches like that reach out and be like, hey, I see what type of player you are. I see what you have the capability of doing. These are just some things I feel like you can work on. These are some things I feel like you do well. Let's come together. Let's do this. Let's make things happen. So I think that was a perfect fit for me. I think that was an opportunity that I didn't take for granted. And I was grateful for it.
was going into playing, it's called the IFL now,
Yeah.
right? But before it was arena football. Is it a different feeling playing in an atmosphere like that, or what's
Oh, yeah.
what's the speed like?
It gets on you faster.
Okay.
It's very short, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times players you look at that and you say, it's only a 50-yard field, it's 8 on 8, it's easy. I came from outside. I played in the NFL, I played in the CFL, I played in the UFL. So, this is cakewalk to me. And you go in there, you get hit in your mouth. First play by some dude that you never heard of. That was a D2 or D3 type of player, but he always had that chip on his shoulder since he was a kid. So, this is his NFL. This is his CFL. So they don't take this lightly at all. So to have those type of guys around you, stuff like that, it adds an extra level of grit to you at the same time too, because that lets you know that not only are you fighting in a whirlpool to try to get back to where you once were, but there's also dudes that never even seen the light of where you've been at, and they still trying to fight for it.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing for me, because to sit here and just try to let a few things knock me down, just make it feel like I was discouraged. No, I would never let that be the end all be all for my story. And at the end of the day, I was gonna let anything that happened to me that I didn't like or that I didn't necessarily feel or agree on, I was gonna let that be fuel and motivation to get me back to where I wanted to be at.
But it seems like when you got there from the get-go, especially with our home team, you got acclimated really quickly and you started making plays really quick with that
Yeah.
team make a difference. Do you feel like you were the missing piece? They got close last year too.
Yeah.
They were good last year. But do you feel like you were kind of that missing piece also with a couple few other players that were missing to get that championship this year for the city?
I definitely feel like, my presence as a player and as an individual in that building, along with the rest of the organization, the rest of the players and coaches, I think collectively we were all able to bring the best out of each other. And I think the biggest thing was to have a group of guys that all come from various backgrounds and various stories, whether it was similar or whether it was different, and to all buy into the same opportunity, the same program, and realize that at the end of the day, in order for us to get to where we want to get to, whether it's back outside, whether it's the opportunity to re-sign with this organization or another organization, or to win a national championship like we did, we're going to have to put aside our emotions, our antics about our individual selves, and be fully embodied into what we have to do as an organization, as a team. And each week, it wasn't easy. It was hard. And it was sometimes where you would look and be like, man, are we gonna pull it out? Are we gonna get it done? And I swear to God, every time it came to game day and it came to game time, it just seemed like we just clicked. And it seemed like at the end of the day, we all made sure that we were on the same accord.
Okay. How did that championship feel like winning a high school one or even playing in college? Like,
It
how
was
did that
it's a
championship feel to you?
it's definitely a blessing. Any professional league that you can win them, win the full thing of, especially with a season like that, to see how much work it got put in from March 14th all the way to August 28th, and to see how many people went throughout that process. It's still the same thing as far as, when I went through the rigorous things with the Raiders or with the CFL and stuff like that. Everything is a process. And I think some people get the misconception that even though it's the IFL, it's still a business, it's still professional atmosphere, it's still professional setting. So you're going to see guys that were in the NFL, that were in the CFL or higher leagues that come in and out. And some dudes, they can't see it through. Some dudes, the things or tangibles that, withheld them from getting to their full potential, you're going to see those things get exposed at that level because there's not necessarily somebody in your face every day telling you to do the right things on and off the field, but
Yeah.
it's more of a self standard to hold yourself accountable. And I think that's the most important thing that I learned throughout the process is to not only just do the right thing when somebody's looking, but to hold yourself accountable when nobody else is.
Do you feel like it's sometimes, like, easier for, like, a player that's, seen the NFL, played a while, or he came over here and, like, to get big-headed and be like, "This ain't it," like
Some people, yeah. Some people look at it and say, if I'm not getting the playing time that I'm doing, if I'm not, the star of the team, and if I'm not getting all of my demands that I see fit, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna waste my time being here. And for some people, if it works out for them, works out for them. I'm not gonna sit here and knock anybody for making the decision that they feel is best for them. But ultimately, I have to make sure I made the decision that was best for me.
how much easier do you think it was for you since you live here, your family's here,
Yeah.
for you to be on that team other than other players?
It was very easy. And the thing that, baffled me the most was initially I signed with the Green Bay Blizzards before I signed with the Vegas Nighthawks. And it was a week apart where the transaction was made where Coach Mike seen me on the transaction list. He reached out to me, reached out to my agent, and I sat down. We had a good conversation. So the fact that we ended up playing them in the championship, we ended up winning.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but God, you know what I'm saying? So I let me know I'm doing the right things and God's always watching at the end of the day. So I was grateful for that.
Did you guys go do any celebration dinner or anything afterwards?
Oh yeah, everybody was turned, and it was kind of it was sentimental, but it was kind of frustrating at the same time too because we were kind of wishing that the game was back home so we can just celebrate
Yeah.
history in the city. But we were all still there with each other, and we all made sure that we embraced each other in that moment, especially all the coaches too. It was a beautiful feeling.
Yeah, because you mentioned, like, Canada was, like, it's more like a hometown feeling, and,
Yeah.
that's in Henderson. They play at the arena, the same with the Silver Knights. So, how much is the community involved with that, people recognize you and stuff outside when
Oh,
you
it's
step
beautiful,
outside?
especially being at a place like Lee Family Forum. You see different acts, not just with us going there to practice, but like you said, the Silver Knights when they have different venues and stuff like that. And just to be able to, camaraderise with all the different people and working people that's there, and to see how much it means to them. We'll see guys Monday through Friday that work the front door and work security at the Lee Family Forum, and then when it comes to game day, they're right there in the stands cheering us on. So it's a beautiful thing to let you know that you're doing the right things and that people are all paying attention the same way.
Yeah, so what's the plan now as far as football? Like, are you playing going back next year or what?
Yeah. So I ended up re-signing with the team. I had a conversation with Coach Mike earlier this week, actually, to re-sign with the organization. As far as outside of that, I have some workouts, showcases I'm going to do for the UFL to get another,
Okay.
opportunity out there for me, and also a couple workouts for the CFL. But ultimately, if nothing is to suffice, I don't see anything that's going to be working out from there. You go see me be a Vegas Nighthawk again.
So how does that work? Because you say you re-signed with them, but if another team could still pick you up or you can play in a different league with no
Yeah,
consequences?
with an organization, with a league like the IFL, that's why it's very important for any level. You read through these contracts and stuff like that, what you're really signing, because they give a breakdown and let you know you're with our team, you're signed with us. It's more not, I don't want to say a safety net, but to just ensure, what I'm saying, you have something for you, regardless if things were to go through for you the way you want them to or not. And you have some guys that'll go back to Canada or go to UFL and they'll have opportunity and they may get released or they may get cut. And instead of them having to come back home and try to figure out what to do, they're already signed with an organization like the Vegas Nighthawks, and you're able to come back and still stay in the loop and be in shape and still put some things on tape that's still up to date. So I think it's a win-win either way.
Okay, so but you said you have a how old's your son now?
He'll be 2 in February.
So how's that balancing, like, football and then might have to leave and then your son staying here?
Being able to have the support system and, with his mother and with my family and stuff like that, I give them all the credit and stuff like that because, it takes a village to make sure you raise a child and stuff like that. But he's my biggest motivation just to make sure that I would never lay him down. I always make sure that I continue with my dreams to make sure that, when he gets older, he's able to recollect and be able to look back and see his father's legacy and stuff like that I later I withheld from him. I want him to be proud of everything, be able to see that his father left everything on the table and let it was no stones unturned.
It seems like it wouldn't even be your father's legacy. It's like your family because your dad started it. It's like your dad's a. It seems like he set you up to kind of follow that thing.
He's a real deal icon. And, I look at it, If you look at guys like, LeBron James and stuff like that with his son, they talk about nepotism. I feel like I had that same type of leverage and respect as well. Not necessarily from the glamorous, the fame or the 8 to 9 figure financial aspect of it like that, but at the same time, I'm still able to get to these places the same way these kids are. My dad
Yeah.
was able to open doors for me the same way, and because he was fortunate and blessed to be able to have the job that he did and the resume that he had, I was able to be around various amounts of people from different walks of life and to be able to learn, things from them and stuff like that. So to be able to see some of my favorite athletes, while they were in their prime and
Yeah.
for, them to drop gems on me just because my father was able to do work for them and he's able to introduce me to them. It's beautiful, and I never take that lightly. Me being a father now, and just seeing all the things that he did for me, the sacrifices. I want to make sure I do that and even more for my son.
Yeah, 'cause you even see through your dad, like, man, he treats your mom like a queen.
Yeah,
Like, just the way he talks about.
she's the queen of the family. We don't suffice as a family without her, and we don't suffice as a family without him. Yeah, we all lean on each other, and everybody has different roles, and some roles are also always going to be bigger than others. They always have the top roles. That's always why they get the most respect as well.
So leading into like, okay, football only lasts for so long. Everybody knows that. And not for a lot of people that don't know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people do know your dad has a bodyguard company.
Right.
And we've seen that, you took in place in some of those events. As you as a former football player, people you know actually helped out too.
Right.
How is that to you to have a avenue that like that to, fall back on if something does happen, like you can go to
It's
that.
it's definitely a blessing because you have some people that they have nothing to fall back on. They have nobody to help them out, and when their career gets done, it's really just all on them and what they want to do or whatever opportunities the world has set for them. So to be able to have a father that set the lane for us and be able to not only have private executive company for security, but to also have a Tasty Teas cheesecakes for his family, to lead those type of things, to be able to have that for his children and for us right now to embark on this amazing. You want to make sure that you do all the right things to protect that, and that's the most important thing. He told us that early on. And for me, to see grown men in that aspect and that walk of life, that have to take care and provide for their families the same way my dad does, the same way I have to. It lets you know that, when you have opportunities in life and you have situations to go take advantage of life, you do what you have to do because there's some people that never got that chance and they had to just go straight to the workforce. So that's why I think that's the biggest thing for me to continue over my career as well, because I would be a fool to sit here and tell you that, I'm okay with leaving football right now because I'm not.
It's still early. You
Yeah,
just getting
it's
started.
good. I'm really just scratching the surface. I'm really just hitting my prime years at how I feel, from a physical and a mental standpoint. And to have people like that to see me work on my dad, and whether I'm with him or I'm by myself, and they come over, check up on me, and they be like, "Hey man, I've seen the game. I seen what you done, Hawks and stuff like that. I seen with the Raiders. Keep going, man. Keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? You got a support system here. You got people that root for you. It's very fulfilling. It's very a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think even the NFL got the question yet. I mean, you seen the kicker from I think what the one that 41-year-old just hit the game winner the other day. Like, you never know when your time's done or when they're gonna call you back. This dude's coaching, little league football, and now he kicking game winners.
Right.
So
Even like Teddy Bridgewater. Ted Bridgewater was coaching down in Florida, and then the Lions called him back. So, what I'm saying? Just always let yourself know that window opportunity is never closed unless you choose for it to be closed.
but with that being said, like I said, your dad's the security business has been taken off because of him. And now your mom, she has the Taste of Teas cheesecakes. Well, I tried them probably a couple years back, and
Yeah.
that's the best cheesecake I ever tasted. And I even said before, your dad might have had the envision before. He didn't have a building ahead that's gonna sell out. It's gonna be like the Cane's, it's gonna be the Chick-fil-A where the lines are nonstop all day. And I really believe it because they're that good. I'm not joking.
I think too the biggest reason why the business is going to suffice the way it does is because the countless sacrifices between them two. When you talk about somebody and people that are truly dedicated to the betterment of their family and individually within themselves, I mean, if you had a dictionary, I would put those two people in the picture because I've seen them stay up for countless amount of days. And I'm not fabricating when I say that. When I say days, 48 to 72 hours, sometimes even 96 hours, whether it's my dad being on the road doing deliveries or my mom being in that kitchen. So everything that's coming for this business, every positive thing that's happening, everything that we're going to have the success is on the backs of them too. And they deserve everything.
I believe it because, like I said, like I said, your dad posts a lot on social media, and I've seen him work security jobs and turn around and he's in California, he's in Arizona, and he makes those deliveries. He doesn't
Yeah.
care.
And it's crazy because, even before we had social media and stuff like that, I'm just thinking about the times when it was me and him, and we even took trips for camps to go across the country. I mean, I've had times where it was just me, him in the car. We went from Las Vegas, Nevada to Williamsburg, Virginia. It was a 49-hour drive just for a camp. Now, mind you, I got an MVP for the camp, but it
Oh,
was
I
one,
paid off.
yeah, it paid off for sure. But it was just one of those things, that's a long time on the road. So you have real intricate conversations with your father and, to really see the sacrifices right in front of you and to see like, man, my dad believes in my dreams so much, he's willing to drive me across the country for it. And to see that go from that at 12 years old to look back and see all these jerseys behind me, you know what I'm saying? I'm just grateful for that. I'm glad that it was able to pay off the way it did.
I mean, your dad's bodyguard for almost anybody you could think of.
Yeah.
Floyd, all them, Shaq. But we've seen, like, I don't think everybody's tasted them. You got those cheesecakes to everybody. It's not gonna be that sells it. What is it about your mom's cheesecake here? She's a Wonder Woman behind it.
Yeah.
What is it about them that make them so good? Because they're moist, they're different flavors.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, give it 5 years, it's gonna be competing with the Cheesecake Factory. And I already think they are. It's just it's not big yet. Or people don't know who it is yet.
I think with anything, when you have a business or you have a product that is nothing like anybody else, it's what's your process and what you're willing to put into it, the sacrifice behind it. And my mom, she has her own personal niche when it comes to every single flavor because we have 28 different flavors. And just to see her, just the mastermind behind it, she'll just sit there and just think of stuff and she'll just be like, here, try this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this? And she's okay, it's a new flavor, this sweet potato or this strawberry shortcake, this carrot cake. And I'm like, man, like I've had this before, but like it don't it's something about it, like you saying. Even as a kid, I grew up a selective palate when it comes to different foods and stuff like that. So my mom, she was an incredible chef, outside of just sweets. So to be able to still be amazed and for her to still be, to have different tricks of the trade and stuff like that to this day,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
Who put in the idea to start selling them? Like, at what point was it, like, a good idea to put them out there?
So I remember it was November of 2019, right before I came back from Texas Christian University. And I remember my parents, they were having a conversation amongst each other because they always talked about it growing up about, open up a business. But it was always afterwards, when we all were out the house and we all were,
Yeah.
adults. But I think they got the spark initially, when my daddy had a client and they were talking and having a conversation about cheesecakes. And, he was just bragging about my mom making the best cheesecakes. And, he called his bluff on it. And my dad said, watch this. And went back home. My mom made, a half dozen initially. And he was like, man, you guys should sell these. And that right there was just a spark that they needed. And they came back home and came up with a slogan, came up with a name. And from then on, they just went to work.
Yeah, because everybody got the family cook. Everybody to cook. Everybody, she makes the best pies, this and that. But it's hard to be like, let's sell them now.
And that lets you know too, because there's nothing that you can fake when it comes to food. Like if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
nasty, like facial expression gonna tell you before words do. So just to see it from, infants to, senior citizens and stuff like that, to see though everybody from all walks of life be able to say the same thing and say it's the best dessert or best cheesecake they ever had,
Oh, yeah.
it's beautiful.
Cause yeah, we had it for my daughter's first birthday party.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody liked them. They were done right away. We got a regular cake,
Yeah.
but the cheesecakes went first.
Yeah.
That's just what
It
it
is
is.
fun. I have some people to this day that say, man, I would never have a birthday cake. I'm gonna have tasty teas, cheesecake.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Like I said, I still can't find the niche or what it is, but they're creamy, they're moist,
Oh,
they're like different flavors.
I would say it's not about ingredients, it's about the process. And,
Okay.
and that's nothing that you can replicate. That's just something that's just instilled within her.
But the bricks are getting laid little by little because even you guys got the band now. He just had a band at first and he threw a logo on and he always envisioned buildings. Now the building's getting built. When's the grand opening? How close are we to actually seeing the building and the whole family there?
So we get started with renovations next month in October. That's coming up. And we're looking for a soft opening sometime this spring. So I want to say no later than April.
And we know the way your dad moves,
Yeah,
that's a realistic time.
absolutely.
Because he doesn't wait for nothing.
At all.
That's where you get a lot of your grit from. Huh? I mean, your dad,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't quit.
Long-
And
yeah.
I don't see the football career going nowhere, falling nowhere short right now.
No, not at all.
Maybe another championship with the Nighthawks.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it takes to get me back outside. But, I think the biggest thing too was just being able to be where my feet is at and to get the most out of this organization when it comes to the Vegas Nighthawks. I think that was the biggest thing too. So to be able to see that and to make a national championship, not only get there, but to win it in the way that we did and to be able to come back and rebuild again. I was,
Sky's the limit.
yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait.
So I know, like I said, we're not hoping the season ends, but what's the future look like for you outside of football?
Outside of football, I'm going to start doing private training. Actually, I want to start doing that with kids and stuff like that. Be able to get back to the game of football, be able to get back to the youth. I already did a few things, with different camps and stuff like that, and different people out here, different coaches that have organizations and little league teams and stuff like that. And just to be able to see how far ahead these kids are, I thought I was, ahead of the game as
Oh,
a
yeah.
youngster, and my peers behind me. But these guys now, they can be anything they want to be in this
Oh,
world.
yeah.
And to have guys like me that are still here and we're still young, we're able to give those jewels and stuff like that before they even hit that age, scary.
How important do you feel like it is to have for young kids, especially like, 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds to see actual people from the actual schools they went to actually do things?
To have a positive influence first and foremost, but to have a male influence and a positive one to not only tell you, but to also show you the accolades and be like, I'm not just a person that was able to tell you the story, but to show you the story and show you that I did it and show you that you can make it. Not
Yeah.
just, he fell short or, something happened where he didn't see it fit, but no, he's seen it through. And even through the trials and tribulations, he still was able to make something of himself. And look what he has to show today.
Yeah, I mean, you're still showing people, like I said, you're not going nowhere.
Absolutely.
The
Yes.
the sky's the limit for sure. Do you feel like, depending on the side, because people be like, "Oh, well, they went to Gorman. We're at Rancher." Like, do you feel like those kids have less of opportunity because they're playing at like a 4A or 5A now compared to a 6A, and nobody's coming to the game, they ain't any time up there?
No, I can't necessarily say that because if you look at the numbers and analytics, you have a school, for example, like Desert Pines, that had the same amount of Division One players, and they're up there with NFL players too.
Yeah.
When it comes to if you want to compare to Bishop Gorman as far as the opportunity outside of that, so I think at the end of the day, wherever you are as a player, if you're putting stuff on tape and you're that type of guy, you know what I'm saying? The coach are going to find you. I think the biggest thing is not just to be centered around just, hey, I'm doing all the right things here. I put everything on tape and stuff like that, and I'm just waiting for opportunity. No, that's the biggest thing. You can't wait. When it comes to this, as far as football, especially when it comes to high school and college, those 4 years, that short window opportunity, you got to hit it and hit it hard. And whatever it takes, whatever camps you have to do, go to everyone. It doesn't matter if it's a satellite camp, if it's a local camp, if it's a camp that you feel like it's only going to be 5 people there, win MVP then. If that's the case, whether it's 5,000 or whether it's 50, it doesn't matter if it's 2 coaches out there or 200 schools. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, if you want it bad enough, you're going to do everything you have to do. And if you're a good enough player, the coaches will find you no matter where you're at.
Yeah, that's why I see a lot of kids down. They want to go where their friends are. They want to go to the big schools that are winning. But my whole thing is go where you're gonna play.
Exactly. And
That's
that's the
what the
thing.
school
That's the
is.
things that some people get the misconception about, and some people fall short of that because they'll look at it and say, "Hey, well, I could go here and maybe I'll be on the sideline. Maybe I'll have a couple plays here and there, stuff like that. But at least I got a ring. At least I got an opportunity out of that. And for some people, that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's opportunity, everybody's level where they want to reach is different. Some people are like, okay, I want to just play high school football and go to college. Some people, I want to go to college and graduate. Some people, I want to go to the league. Some people, I want to be a Hall of Famer. So all depends on what level you want to take the game.
And do you feel like once you get there, your drive can't stop, right? Like you gotta keep pushing.
That's
You wanna
what
start all over.
that's when the job begins, really. Once you get to that level, it's like reaching a milestone and climbing the top of a mountain. Once you get there, now you realize that you're just at the horizon of the next one. Now you got to keep going.
Yeah. So what do you like to do on your spare time outside of football? I mean, you spend time with your family, but what drives you?
What drives me? Really, music. Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest things outside of football that drives me. Outside of my family, outside of my son, I think every single day I've had music around me, whether it's R&B, whether it's rap, whether it's pop, acoustic, anything. And
So you like making music or you just different type of genres you like listen to?
I haven't necessarily got into making music yet, but that is one of the things I have on my list. I want to go back and get my master's in music. That's one of the
Okay.
things I had on my bucket list. But yeah, who knows?
All right. So you don't want to be no Darren Waller right now.
I'm not gonna say that the music is bad for Darren Waller. Actually, I
No,
think
that's good. He's pretty solid to say, but he took that transition.
but I wouldn't say I'm opposed to it. You know what I'm saying? Any opportunity can still be open. You know what I'm saying? So that can still be a possibility too. You never know. I'm not gonna
Correct.
say no. I'm not gonna say no right now.
Okay, well, like I said, I want to thank you for coming out, taking time. It was a long time coming. You were probably one of the most guests I wanted to get on the
Yes,
show,
sir.
just because mainly the cheesecake, the way I'm telling you, it's blowing up.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate you guys for having me, and thank you so much.
And yeah, you're just another brick to the city. Like I said, you did the Raiders, and
Absolutely.
especially playing for UNLV. Like that's the big thing too.
Yes, sir.
Stayed home, but thank you for coming out, and hopefully, like I said, we see you in the future, and maybe back on the Raiders sometime.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.